Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sports Porch. My name is Jeffrey Anderson. Thank you all for tuning in, whether it be YouTube or Spotify. Thank you all so much for listening. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So, before we talk about some actual sports, I want to mention some of the feedback you guys gave me on the first episode. I just want to say I really appreciate it. Thank you guys all so much for the feedback. You guys absolutely killed it with the first one with the amount of support I got, and honestly, the first time I saw the numbers, it really put a smile on my face. That's probably the most joy I've gotten out of this entire quarantine, was seeing the amount of people reach out to me saying, "Hey man, really love the podcast." So to those people, those of you who were able to tune in and watch, I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Seeing that type of stuff really persuades me to keep going with this, keep doing it. So yeah, let's just get right into some of the feedback you guys gave me. First off, some people have mentioned background noise. And for those who aren't watching this on YouTube or don't know, the reason why this is named the Sports Porch is because I'm literally recording this on my front porch. Short story is, this is the best spot I could record it at, and I think that it would make a nice piece of scenery. And I think that it did, or does. So I'm going to be recording here until I go back to school. Once I go back to school, I don't know what this will be named. It'll probably be named the Sports Porch, but it won't be the same. You guys know that. So that's the background noise issue. Basically, if there is stuff that happens in the background, I know last time a train came through, I'll just try to acknowledge it full on, be like, oh, there's a train that's going through right now. Just so that the viewer or the listener isn't like, well, what, does he just not notice that in post? Is he just gonna leave that in there for us to hear? And the answer is yes, I will leave that in for you to hear, because I feel like the audio that I'm recording here, if I try to mess with it too much, it'll sound really weird, really unnatural if it's just kind of cutting in and out every other second, because I'm trying to hide, for example, there's construction going on over here to the right of me at 8 o'clock at night. Why, I couldn't tell you. But I'm not going to try to hide the fact that it's happening. It is what it is. It's what I get for buying the mic that I bought. I bought a condenser. Should have bought a dynamic mic. It is what it is. So we're just going to deal with it. We're just going to roll with it. And that's that. Intro music. Someone had said something about that. I'm going to try to get something in the works possibly next week. For now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm just getting started with this, so I don't want to rush into editing or that whole process yet. I just want to kind of take my time, lean into it, and try to figure out what my limits are right now as a content creator, I guess you would say. So that's that. And then some people have mentioned the Anchor ad was way louder than the rest of the show was. That would be because it is loud, or was loud. So what happened with that? Basically, right now I'm using Audacity to record this. Anchor, when they do their sponsorships and whatnot, they have you go through their web-based app, and you can only record it through there, and then you splice the sponsor somewhere in the middle of your episode, or beginning or end, whatever. Point is, it was really loud. I didn't really care listening back to it, and I should have, but basically, for now, I'm just not going to do my ads on Anchor. If I want to do ads, I'm going to do them on my own time, my own way, because I feel like doing them through Anchor, it kind of holds me back a little bit. If I want to ever switch hosting sites, I won't be able to. Don't get me wrong, I do love Anchor. I love the site. There's a reason why I picked it in the first place, but for now, we're just going to stick with doing this without any ads. Those 10 cents were nice to get, but for now, we're just gonna leave it out of the equation. Alright, so those are that's the feedback out of the way. So let's get to some actual topics, shall we? We got some decent stuff on the docket today. We're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes, his big, shiny contract extension he got. College football, most teams going conference only. We'll give that a talk. And finally, I'm going to, over the course of the next couple weeks, be giving some MLB predictions before the season starts. Hopefully get those out in time. Yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. First off, Patrick Mahomes just got paid. For those of you who did not hear, Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, second best in my opinion to Russell Wilson. Anyway, just got paid 10 years, $450 million guaranteed. Incentives, make that number go up to $500 million. When I first saw this, I was like, wow, that's an insane amount of money to be giving a guy $500 million. Wow, that is really a commitment to make. And then the more I looked at it, the more I searched around, kind of researched this, I really thought that this was a team-friendly contract when they signed it. And you may be asking yourself, well, what are you talking about? They just gave this kid potentially $500 million for the next 10 years. Yeah, and that's the point. It's 10 years. In 10 years, $45 million a year will probably be the standard, if not like $50 million a year. So basically what the Chiefs said was, hey, Patrick, we really like you, but if we want to keep winning championships with you, you're going to have to take somewhat of a pay cut down the road, because you know that you're worth this amount of money, but you know that in a hard cap league like the NFL, we cannot pay you as much money as you probably deserve. So what we're going to do is sign you to this big, beefy 10-year contract, give you a bunch of money, backload it to even it out a little. How does that sound? And to Mahomes' credit, he took the deal. And that's, I think, the main point of this contract. Like, the bottom line is that Mahomes accepted the deal. If he didn't like the terms of this, he could have been like, no way, I'm out. Give me my 5-year, $300 million contract right now, and then we'll talk in a couple of years. No, I think he recognizes that if he wants to win and win more Super Bowls, then the best thing for him to do is take a little bit of, I don't know if I'd call this a pay cut, but a little bit lower amount of money compared to what his peers will probably be getting down the road during that time. Either way, I think that this is a great deal by both teams. Patrick Mahomes, like I said, I think he's the second best quarterback in the NFL right now, and he's only 24 years old. I think he will eventually become the best quarterback in the NFL whenever Russell Wilson decides he wants to retire or just gets old age. Yikes, can't talk today. And I think that, Mahomes deserved to get paid. And this was his payday. The Chiefs are going to keep a great quarterback around for a long time. Overall, I think that this is a win for both sides. So, once again, congrats to both sides of the table for getting what you wanted. College football. College football teams are going conference only. Started with the Big Ten. I think the Pac-12 was the next one to do it. And it just kind of snowballed from there eventually. And I don't know. I think the Power 5 conferences have announced it. I'm not 100% sure. If not, I think that they will eventually get to that point where they're like, yeah, we can't play these games anymore. So let's talk about this. First thing first, I feel bad for the playoff committee. They've already had a tough go of it the past couple of years, and now you're asking them to judge teams based on playing in their conferences only. And without any bias, too. Without bias toward the SEC, which is the best college football conference right now, in my opinion. Toward the Big Ten, whatever. They're only going to get to see these teams play against other opponents in their conference. So, depending on whatever degree of difficulty they have, someone could go 11-0, 12-0, 10-1, whatever, and still not make it into the playoff just because of the fact that their strength of schedule wasn't as good as like an Ohio State's or an Alabama's, who would go like 10-1, 10-2, 11-1, whatever. Second off, group of 5 schools and these smaller schools will suffer because they will usually once a year, twice a year, whatever, go to these big schools, get a paycheck from the school to get the stuffing beaten out of them. It sucks. Well, not really, because they're the ones who agree to it. There goes the construction again. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. At 8 o'clock, I'll remind you. Anyway. Yeah, so these small schools won't be able to get the stuffing beat out of them for $500,000 or however much they get paid. So they're going to have to either cut some programs or downsize some athletics going forward. And obviously, this isn't just affecting them, it's affecting the big boys too. But not as much, because these guys literally depend on this money, like, every year. So it is really a bummer, though, to see that these schools won't get paid, because I do think that while the stuffing games are kind of nonsense, like, it sucks to go see New Northern Toledo State, that's just a made-up name, I don't know, go play Ohio State for $1 million, 42-5 lose. It just sucks that they won't get the money from that anymore. But one thing that will be kind of cool to see out of this will be like the old days of college football almost, where you had, back in the day, you had teams would hash it out, in their own conference, and they wouldn't really get a chance to go see any other school. But that was way back in the day, years behind us now. So it'll be interesting to see, how will teams like Alabama and Ohio State be now that it's conference only? Will they play better because they've seen these teams more times and they're more used to what they do and they dominate them more usually? Or will they struggle because these other teams know they're going to play them and know that they have to do their homework on them and all that sort of good stuff? So this will be a really interesting college football season coming up. It really does suck that we won't be able to see any non-conference games this year. I was really looking forward to some. And yeah, that's the college football landscape as of now. No one really knows what the future holds for it. Potentially football games could be canceled. I hope not. Really hope not. I would love to see some college football played this fall. It'll probably be in spring from everything that's been said, but whatever. And that's that. Baseball will be back starting July 23rd. And first things first, I want to do some predictions for this year. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, though, I wanted to originally do them all in this one episode, or at least all the AL, all the NL. Then when I started taking notes for it, I realized how long it was to take notes. And I really wanted to get this video up either tomorrow or the day after. So you'll probably hear this either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those 3 days. So what my plan is, I want to upload twice a week, having NL, what's today? NL and AL East today, NL and AL Central later in the week, and then the NL and AL West the week after that, the early part of the week episode. So then when July 23rd rolls around, that'll be like a Thursday or something of that week. So you'll be all caught up on all your baseball needs before the season starts. So let's go ahead and go over some rule changes first. First off, the NL will have a DH this year. I think that this is a good thing. This takes away from some of the strategy that the NL previously had, such as putting in pinch hitters when the relief spot is up, keeping reliever, like, do we want to leave our best reliever in late in the game, or are we going to have a pinch hitter because this is potentially the last time we'll have an at-bat? Having good hitting pitchers such as Zach Greinke, Madison Bumgarner, people of this caliber, we won't be able to see this very much anymore. But at the end of the day, I do think this is generally good for the sport. The sport needs more people hitting, and if you have a pitcher going up there, who's not to say he's going to break his ankle trying to run to first? Nobody wants to see a pitcher getting hurt like that. We all know that most pitchers aren't very good at hitting. I know that baseball purists are going to be mad about this. Most baseball purists are going to be mad at half of this list, but I understand that. I am a fan of an NL team, so I'm used to seeing a non-DHs play. And I do think it's a little cheapening to just be able to go however long with a reliever just because, the 9 spot's coming up. Oh, well, it doesn't matter because we have a DH in there, and he's like our best hitter. So it doesn't really matter, but I think it's better for the game. And then next, in extra innings, this is just exclusive to this year. I think that DH thing will probably be the standard going forward. I think the CBA is up this year or next year, one of the two. I can't remember 100%. But anyway, next, in extra innings, each team will get a runner on second base automatically, who will be the player immediately before the leadoff hitter of the inning. So if like the number 7 guy is leadoff batter, number 6 guy is the person who's on second base. This is a weird rule, but I guess I get it for the sake of speeding up games this year. Like maybe for COVID, so that less people are exposed to it potentially. But it's just a weird kind of rule. I think it kind of cheapens it out a little bit. Like, I could maybe understand if they like put a guy on first base. Like if they would do that, I would be okay with that. But second base, like putting a guy in scoring position right off the bat, that's a single, basically, and the game is over, or the other team has to clap back. But then again, they have that guy on second base. So who am I to talk? And then next, this is a rule that was instated for this year. This will be the norm going forward as well. Relief pitchers must face 3 batters unless the inning ends. Once again, with a as in like strategy speaking, I don't really like this move. I am a Milwaukee Brewers fan, and as us Brewers fans know, Craig Counsell loves to go through his relievers. There was a game last year in the NLCS, I believe, or 2 years ago that was now. In the NLCS, where he started a reliever for 1 batter and then pulled him and brought out Brandon Woodruff, the actual pitcher for the game, just because of the matchup. So this is gonna rub some managers the wrong way. Other managers won't really care. Purists will be mad. I'm a little ticked at it because, like I said, it doesn't allow managers to use full strategy and use their bullpen potentially to its full potential. But this will speed up games, which in today's MLB is a good thing, so I can't really complain about that. And then our final thing is, this is also something that's instated going forward, is just the timestamps of it are a little weird. Rosters are going from 30 players on opening day, 28 on the 15th day of the season, and then 26 on the 29th day, with no limitations on the number of pitchers. This is good. More players on the team is always better. No limitations on pitchers. That's good for the team, because if they need extra pitchers for whatever reason, if you have like 5 pitchers with broken arms or something, who knows? And then the injured list this year will be a 10-day DL or IL, if they change the name of that, and 45 days. And then there will be a separate coronavirus list for people who are diagnosed with it, have COVID-19, whatever, that whole deal. So those are my thoughts on the rule changes coming up for this season. Kind of sucks what's going on with the coronavirus. We have to resort to some of these, but that's how it is. All right, let's start with the predictions now. So I'm going to go through the NL first, and then we'll go on the AL side of things. So I'm going to go in order. I'm going to give you my win-loss projections for each team, give you some maybe key players to watch out for, some players that might have lost, how I think the team's going to do this year, obviously, that sort of nature. And we'll just rank them from 5th to 1st in their divisions. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We'll start with the NL East, and bottom of the barrel, I think you guys can guess who this will be if you're baseball fans. It's the Miami Marlins. I have them projected to go 20-40 this year. Their manager is Don Mattingly. He's not a bad manager, but he's with a bad team. Some things about this team. Their lineup is still pretty young, but they do have some surprises that could turn out. Jonathan Villar is there this year. He could do really well. Miguel Rojas at shortstop. Brian Anderson's been solid. Jesus Aguilar could have a bounce-back year. And then they did lose, however, Starlene Castro, who was one of their best hitters last year, which sucks for them. Neil Walker was a good utility guy, always kind of has been. So their lineup is young but surprising. As far as their pitching goes, for their starters, Sandy Alcantara, is really their standout guy. They also have Pablo Lopez in the mix, a guy named Sixto Sanchez coming up, Jordan Yamamoto from my Brewers years ago in that horrible Yelich trade. That's one of the better guys they got out of that trade. So they do have some promise there, but as of now, Alcantara, I can't say his name, I apologize, is the only guy who I think could really make an impact this year. As for the bullpen, you'll see Brandon Kinsler pick up a couple saves for them. Otherwise, there's not really much of anyone to mention there. Otherwise, this team, lots of young pieces, just not quite ready to make any sort of attempt at anything noteworthy. They also happen to have the second hardest schedule, playing the Yankees, the Rays, the Red Sox, and being in the NL East with the Nationals, Phillies, Mets, and the Braves. They will be in the bottom cellar of the NL East, unfortunately. Like I said before, I think that they will go 20-40, and that is the Marlins. Next up is the Philadelphia Phillies, and some of you may be surprised by this, but last year I fell into the trap of being way too overhyped by the Phillies. I thought they were going to potentially win the division last year. Obviously, that didn't happen. I watch a guy on YouTube. What's his name? Shoot, I can't remember his name. Dang it. What's his name? Neck Draft Mark, something like that. He's a baseball YouTuber. He's all over the place. He's really good, has really good content. He predicted last year the Phillies would be in fourth. When I saw that video originally, I thought there's no way the Phillies are going to be in fourth. Lo and behold, the Phillies were in fourth last year. So, got to tip my hat up to him. He got that right. And I'm not going to fall in the trap of that this year. I project them to go 28-30, so a little under 500. They have Joe Girardi as their manager, replacing Gabe Kapler. It's his first year there. I think he's a great signing for them. Some of the players to watch out for them. Obviously, their lineup is star-studded. They have lots of power. Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, who I think is best catcher in the game. Yeah, probably the best all-around catcher in the game. You have Gene Segura, who's a nice, consistent spot. You have Rhys Hoskins, who's a good power hitter. Andrew McCutchen is coming back this year. And then for their starting lineup, starting rotation, lots of players looking to prove themselves this year. You have Aaron Nola trying to come back sort of as like a bounce-back year, I guess you would say. You have Zach Wheeler coming in from the Mets, hoping that he can justify that big contract he got. And then you have Jake Arrieta, who also had somewhat of a down year. Hope to see him come back this year and make some moves. The bullpen, I think, will still hold them back, just like it did last year. No one really of note, nothing they really changed there, which is their biggest issues. Their bullpen would just lose games for them, which is my main reason why I can't move them up this list, because in the 60-game season, where your pitching really is going to matter, especially your bullpen late in games, every game will matter. Their bullpen's going to lose them some heartbreakers again. That's just the beast. That's how it goes. And they'll have some tough teams to play in this division. So, Phillies, 28-30, fourth place. Next up is the New York Mets. I have them at a projected record going 33-27. Their manager this year is Luis Rojas, who replaces Mickey Callaway, who was terrible, and also Carlos Beltran, who got replaced without even having a game for them because of Astros reasons. Yikes there. Anyway, their lineup, they have solid power in the middle, a little bit weaker toward the edges after losing some players, such as Todd Frazier. Their big guys, obviously Pete Alonso. He's pretty decent at his job. Michael Conforto, Robinson Cano's looking to have a bounce back year this year. Wilson Ramos can be okay. Jonas Cespedes can hope to stay healthy for any amount of games this year because Jonas Cespedes doesn't like to play games or something. They brought in Jake Marisnick from the Astros. Jed Lowry is here. So some solid power there. Starters, solid by adding Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha. Those are some decent guys. As a Brewers fan, I know how good Michael Wacha can be. He has ripped us apart in the past. And then with DeGrom and Marcus Stroman, pretty good 1-2 punch, but they don't have their third guy, Thor, Noah Syndergaard. What did he do? I forgot exactly how he got hurt, but he's out for the year. I think he's getting Tommy John, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. I'll probably review it when I'm done with this and be like, wow, you dummy, that's not what happened at all. And then in their bullpen, they're going to look for some bounce backs this year from Yuris Familia and from Edwin Diaz. Both of those guys had pretty terrible years last year. So hopefully they'll get back on their feet. They'll be the main two guys to look out for in their bullpen. And after their impressive run toward the end of the year, they really put some good games together. I do think that it will still be a little more pedestrian this year. They just don't quite have the bullpen, I think, and the good consistency toward the ends of their lineup to get over the Nationals and Braves-sized humps that are in this division. So next up in second place, listen, I want to say right now, I went back and forth. I can't even tell you how many times making notes for this with these two spots. Both these teams are super good, but at the end of the day, it came down to one thing, and I'll tell you what the thing is when we get there. For now, I'll just talk about the second place team. I think the second place team will be the Atlanta Braves. I have them going 35-25. Their manager is Brian Snitker. Sorry, I don't know. I can't pronounce anything today. I should have really reviewed some of that before I started this. Their lineup, all-star studded lineup. Ronald Acuna, he'll look to make MVP votes this year. Ozzie Albies, another standout young guy. They brought in Marcell Ozuna from the Cardinals. Once again, I know how much he can hurt people. Ender Enciarte. Freddie Freeman, although he is out with the coronavirus right now. Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley. You have lots of guys in this lineup that can make an impact anytime. Anytime they get up there, you can think that they're a home run hitter. They're going to hit the ball far and hard. And some plucky stuff that'll, like guys like Dansby Swanson, who will pluck it all over the field and just get in there with singles or doubles. As for their starters, they have a mix of old and new guys with promise on both ends. You have Mike Soroka, who will be starting this year. He is a young gun. This will be his first year, I believe, in the majors, or one of his first years with a full-on starting gig. You have Cole Hamels getting signed over from the Cubbies. He's an old guy. He's been around forever. You guys know Cole Hamels. He'll put in some solid numbers. Then looking at guys like Max Fried, hoping to have a bounce back here. Mike Foltynewicz. He had a really good year 2 years ago and just kind of fell off the face of the earth. Sean Newcomb is looking to have a good startup. So overall, a mix of young and old here. Looking to get in the mix of it. As for their bullpen, you can expect Mark Milcanen and Shane Green to make some appearances there. Will Smith also got signed, so expect to see him a lot in relief and potentially as the closer or the setup man, whatever he wants to do probably. So this is a solid squad. They have a lot of talent everywhere, but I do think that they will come up just short because they are a little bit young yet. I think you give them like one more year, even though they did win the division this year. I think one more year, and they'll truly be the kings of this division. And I think if they get one more standout pitcher, then they can really compete with the Nationals. And speaking of that, my number one team in this division is the Washington Nationals. I have them going 38-22, 3 games ahead of the Braves, their manager, Dave Martinez. Their starters, their lineup, good mix of power and consistency, even with losing Anthony Rendon. They have guys such as Trey Turner, who is he steals all kinds of bases. Adam Eaton can poke it anywhere, really. You have Victor Robles, Howie Kendrick, Eric Thames comes over from my Brewers, really big home run hitter. Kurt Suzuki is all right every year. But then the thing for me that really puts them over the top is their pitching. Starters are absolutely loaded. You have Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, and Patrick Corbin, top 5 trio in the game right now. They pitched the lights out of the playoffs last year. I didn't even mention Juan Soto earlier. Juan Soto, who's like one of the best, probably the best player on this team besides the pitchers. Anyway, You get into those guys, then you get into their bullpen. Daniel Hudson and Sean Doolittle. That's a deadly 1-2 punch as your relievers. You also have Anibal Sanchez as another starting pitcher who had some really good games during the playoffs last year. So this team, man, I think that with the amount of pitching that they have, it's just going to be too much for other teams to deal with, especially in this short season. They have so much pitching. Sean Doolittle and Daniel Hudson probably could go back and forth every night. And this is going to be a big headache for a lot of different teams. So that's what I have. I have the Nationals winning this division. Once again, I'll go over it again. So I have the Miami Marlins in last place going 20-40. I have the Philadelphia Phillies next going 28-30. New York Mets going 33-27. The Atlanta Braves going 35-25. And the Washington Nationals going 38-22. Okay, so as you guys can see on the YouTube video, it got a little dark out on the sports porch, so I had to turn on the flash. I saw earlier there was a little bit of a glare back here. Hopefully my head is covering it up. If not, whatever. Let's move on anyway to the AL East. So my bottom of the barrel team here is none other than our Baltimore Orioles. I predict they will go 17-43. Their manager is Brandon Hyde. Basically, my notes for this are way too young. Everyone on this team is just way too young, honestly, to make anything happen. They lost Trey Mancini this year to cancer. That's really unfortunate. I hope he gets better soon. Colon cancer, to be exact. He's a really fun guy to watch. He hits a lot of home runs. Does a lot of good things for this team. They lost Jonathan Villar, who put in some good work for them. Andrew Kashner, they let go. Dylan Bundy's with the Angels. Gabriel Yanoa. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name. Put in some solid innings for them. They do still have some key players, though, to look out for. Anthony Santander, Hanser Alberto, Pedro Severino, Chris Davis, hoping to have something of a bounce-back year from whatever the hell it was last year that he had. Also, pitchers, John Means will be probably the guy getting a lot of innings here. Some other guys of note, just throwing out anyone who's young really on this team. Austin Hayes, who's an outfielder, should get some looks. Rio Ruiz, Alex Cobb will get a lot of innings. Not sure how good they'll be, but he will. Michael Givens will probably be their guy to go to in the bullpen. Either him, Miguel Castro has been talked about a little bit. Potentially Hunter Harvey as well. He's more of a young guy, though. He might get not as many looks as the other two. So once again, this team is just, in my opinion, way too young to do anything other than sit at the bottom of the barrel of this division. So once again, I have them going 17-43. Next up in this division, sadly, is the Toronto Blue Jays. I have them going 23-37. Their manager is Charlie Montoyo. How I would describe this lineup is young and fiery. They won't do a lot other than just hit extra bases and home runs. That'll be enough to win them. That'll be enough to win them a couple of games here and there, steal some from some big teams, but they are in a really tough division. Obviously, their guys to watch are Vlad Guerrero Jr., standout from last year besides Fernando Tatis. Bo Bichette. He'll look to get another solid year out of him. You have Cavan Biggio. Tanner Rourke is here pitching. Another pitcher they brought in, Hyun-Jin Ryu. He's a great signing for them. And then you have Ken Giles, however you say it. He's a rock for them as a closer. He'll get a lot of their looks with Wilmer Font getting some innings as the setup man as well. So overall, once again, this team, young and fiery is how I describe them. They're going to get some wins from some bigger teams, but I'm not sure if that's going to necessarily result in them winning a division or anything, or even contending for this division, a matter of fact. So, Blue Jays, 23-37. Next up, in third place, Boston Red Sox. I have them going 33-27. Ron Reineke, former Brewer manager, is replacing none other than good Houston Astro, Alex Cora. Yikes there as well. So some stuff they have going on here. They had the luxury tax coming down hard on them. They had to get out of it. So what do? You give away your best player, top 3 player in the league, Mookie Betts. You ship him off to Los Angeles and get him out of your league, get him over to the NL, so you don't have to see him until the championship potentially. So this, I really wish they would have kept Mookie and found another way to do it, but they still do have some decent pieces. They have Xander Bogaerts, who is really coming along strong as a hitter. JD Martinez is going to do JD Martinez thing. He's always been really good ever since really that last year he was at the Diamondbacks. He kind of blossomed. Alex Verdugo is the guy who came over from the Mookie Betts trade. He'll look to be their next cornerstone. Andrew Benintendi is always decent. Rafael Devers. And then you have, for starting pitchers, some guys to look out for. This is kind of a skeleton crew. They kind of let some people go. Rick Porcello walks. David Price got sent over. Chris Sale has Tommy John surgery, so he can't even have a bounce back from last year. Really unfortunate for him. So as a result, this is kind of a skeleton crew. Eduardo Rodriguez is really the only consistent besides Nathan Eovaldi that you'll see who will get a lot of innings. Those two will look to bounce back, more specifically Eovaldi. He had a horrible year last year. In the bullpen, you'll see some work from Workman. Sorry, I just got lost in my notes here. Brandon Workman, that is. And Matt Barnes, former Brewer. They'll get a decent amount of innings. Nothing too crazy from them, but you will see innings from them. So, like I said before, this team is still crazy talented. They're going to win a decent amount of games. But because they had to get under that luxury tax, they're going to suffer record-wise because they don't have Mookie Betts, who is a top 5 player in the MLB, in my opinion. As well as some starting pitching with Rick Porcello and the likes leaving. That's the Red Sox for you. And now let's move on to the next team. That being the Tampa Bay Rays. They will come second in the division, I think. At 37-23, their manager, Kevin Cash. The key players to watch for this team is their starters. They have what I would say top 3 rotation in the league. You have Charlie Morton, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell. All 3 of those guys could be Cy Young winners any given year. Just maybe not this year because of a certain person, but we'll get to him and that team after this. So they have one of the best starting units in the league. They're really good there. And then Yanni Chirinos is also not too shabby either. And then Ryan Yarbrough will bring up the back of the rotation. And then as for the bullpen, pretty good last year. They'll be looking to hold their consistency. You have guys such as Jose Alvarado. What the heck? I can't pronounce anything today. I'm so sorry. Diego Castillo is up there. You also have Oliver Drake, former Brewer, really was not good on the Brewers. He only's really been good on the Rays. He had a really good year last year. Hopefully he'll be able to keep that up. I'm rooting for him. Maybe not really because he is Oliver Drake after all. So otherwise, for hitters on this team, the best way to describe them is nobody pops off the page, but in a good way. Everyone on this team is fairly consistent. They did lose some guys. Tommy Pham was a pretty big piece. They lost him to the Padres in a trade. I believe a trade, or did they just sign him? One of those two, I don't really remember. Avisaíl Garcia came over to my team, the Brewers. Eric Sogard as well came over to my Brewers. So they still have some decent guys. You could expect to see many home runs from Hunter Renfroe, but also a lot of strikeouts. Ji-Man Choi, former Brewer as well. He'll hit a couple home runs here and there. Austin Meadows, Brandon Lowe. So yeah, also Nick Anderson is another bullpen guy to look out for. Yandy Diaz, their third baseman. Yoshitomo Tsutsugo. So this team is deep. They have a lot going for them. They have one of the best trios of pitching in the league. I'm just not sure if they quite have the star power that this next team has. And the next team is the Evil Empire, the New York Yankees. You all hate them. They'll be good this year. I have them going 41-19. I haven't done my other predictions yet, but I guarantee you that'll be the best one I give a team. Their manager's Aaron Boone. He was great for them last year. Their lineup is stacked. Simple as that. I have in my notes key players. I have a key player section and a notable player section. Almost their entire starting lineup and some pitching guys are key players. I'll just list off their key players. How about that? Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, DJ LeMahieu, Masahiro Tanaka, J.A. Happ, James Paxton, Gleyber Torres, Juan Carlos Stanton, Aroldis Chapman, who does have coronavirus, so that could be something, Adam Ottavino, Zach Britton, and Miguel Andujar. And then, beyond that, you still have solid guys like Luke Voigt, who's really good for them last year, Brett Gardner, who's always solid, Gary Sanchez, pretty decent defensive catcher, and Clint Frazier. So, I mean, I really don't know what you're expected to do against this team. They are just so good all around. They are absolutely stacked. This is the team to beat this year if you're playing against them. This is the team that should win the World Series. Should is a key word there because this is the MLB. Anything can happen in the sport. We saw what happened last year with the Nationals. My Brewers and Trent Grisham let them get to the World Series. So you're welcome, Nationals. It's okay, but you're welcome. So once again for the AL East, I have the Baltimore Orioles at 17-43, the Toronto Blue Jays going 23-37. I have the Boston Red Sox going 33-27. I have the Tampa Bay Rays going 37-23. And finally, I have the New York Yankees going 41-19. So there you have it. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, I really do appreciate your guys' feedback. Whatever you guys have for me, any sort of suggestions for the show that you want to give me, shoot my line down below. I also want to update the socials for this page. Last time, I didn't have them made, really, so I just kind of threw stuff out that I thought would be the socials. Then I got there, I was like, oh crap, those aren't going to be available as the cicadas ring throughout. I better hurry this up. Anyway, all the socials for the Sports Porch are at Real Sports Porch. That's, instead of the Sports Porch, at Real Sports Porch. Except on Facebook. Facebook page is just the Sports Porch on there. Otherwise, the at for the other pages is Real Sports Porch. You could probably just search on the Sports Porch and find it. The Sports Porch on YouTube, Sports Porch on Spotify, Google Podcasts. Not quite on Apple Podcasts. Thought it was going to be. Sorry about that. Hopefully it will be within due time. My personals, Instagram and Twitter, JeffreyA2017. Come hit me up on there. Give me some suggestions. For business inquiries, sportsporchbusiness@gmail.com. Once again, that's sportsporchbusiness@gmail.com. So businesses, give me your money, hook me up. Hook me up on there. And that's all I have for you guys. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Jeffrey Anderson. This is the Sports Porch. We'll see you on the next one.